Welcome to the Life of Joey Calvo podcast. I am Joey Calvo. Tonight I decided to do another impromptu podcast because, of course, things are going on. One, I've been out, so a lot of podcasts have been happening because of I'm out on a medical leave with my knee. But we got a lot of podcasts done during that time. So with this podcast, could be towards the end of it again, where it feels like it. But who knows? Miracles have been happening left and right. So hopefully it will continue into October. And if not, even October into November and into 2025. Are we hoping it? Yes. So I want to tell you, first of all, that our podcast is part of the World Podcast Network with over 1,200 podcasts in 12 genres. So help us rise to the leaderboard by going to https://worldpodcast.network and help us rise to the leaderboard by voting for us. And if you have a podcast of your own, you can join for free. So, like I'm saying, we're almost to the point where this podcast could be ending again and finishing up. But I am doing everything possible to keep it going. But I've always told you I'm never alone. And it's a great thing that I'm never alone in reference to it. It's actually awesome that I don't feel alone for that. So I am going to, in a moment, first, before I even get to that point, this coming Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, we have keeper Catran-Whitney, and he is one moment. He delves into his masterpiece memoir, a symphony of emotion, pain, and passion, with a brace for the abyss of heinous villains. #emotional health. So we're going to talk about emotional health and other self-love type facets of life. On Monday, September 30th, we're going to end the month of September with Michael Pickard, and he's going to be on at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we're going to start what I used to call Hottober. We're going to start with Marla Goldberg, and that is on Tuesday, October 1st at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So join us live on the Life with Joey Calvo YouTube channel for those 3 podcasts coming up. If you have questions on those podcasts, put them in the comments so I can see them. So that way the guests can see them. Okay? Because more questions, the better. I have reached out, and I'm still reaching out. I'm going to reach out to the mistress of the dark herself, Elvira. I'm making attempts to have her on this podcast in October for Hottober, and especially for Halloween. There are others that I've reached out to that have gotten back to me, so we are working on them as well. So hopefully this podcast doesn't end October 1st. If it does, I could definitely say that one person will be upset if this podcast ends. So we definitely hope that this won't end. So I'm going to now introduce you to that number one fan, that number one supporter, and real life superheroine, American Fox. So, yes, I've mentioned this person so many times, and she's the rock of this podcast. I'm going to be bold about it. She is not just a real life superheroine with no secret identity. So she's American Fox 24/7, but she is this podcast's rock. All encouragement on this podcast comes from a superheroine who loves chatting about Wonder Woman like I do. I mean, we are Wonder Woman fans. Definitely Wonder Woman fans. So, American Fox, we thank you for being this podcast's number one fan, number one supporter, as well as the rock to keep it going. Thank you for being my friend and telling me that I make a difference. And I wouldn't lie to you. She reminds me that I do make a difference with this podcast. So I'm grateful for that. I'm truly grateful for that. So definitely, she loves chatting with real people. I mean, she really loves chatting with real people. And especially if you want to chat Wonder Woman, this is the person to talk to. Okay? There's times I even have to remind her of some things about Wonder Woman that she didn't even know, you know? But she's a great friend. She is on X, formerly Twitter, and Instagram. So definitely reach out to her. Chat with her. Seriously. On X, she's always reposting other superheroines. But comment on them. Or comment on her or on that picture. Because that picture right there, believe it or not, is actually her profile picture. That is her profile. And I'll even go a little bit better on this. I'll go a little bit better with this. That was, believe it or not, I actually want to share this. This was something that actually almost would have been based with American Fox. She had given me encouragement to actually do this. And I wanted to do it, and I wanted her to be a part of it. I really did. I wanted her to, even if we didn't show this, okay? I mean, look how amazing she is. I mean, how can you not want to chat with a superheroine like this? But I got some more secrets for this. Okay. All right, so at this point, I'm going to be bad. So, look at that ass. I mean, she's at Amazon just like Wonder Woman. Look at that ass. And American Fox, I'm only apologizing because of the ass comment. But, wow. You know? But she is a great person. I mean, great. I mean, how can we? I mean, you know, it gets better. I mean, this is a superheroine to really get to know. I mean, literally, a superheroine to get to know. Not only is she a superheroine, Not only is she this podcast's #1 fan and #1 supporter, like I said, she is the rock of this podcast. She is kind of like, she's almost like an executive producer in a way. The executive producer / director. Okay? The encouragement that this superheroine gives me every single day is amazing. I mean, amazing. I could not live without this superheroine. I could not live without her as a friend. I could not be grateful for American Fox. I could not be grateful for everything that she puts into this podcast. I mean, questions that you see come up on the podcast, that's from American Fox. I may not have podcast questions all the time, but with American Fox, questions. She can come up with questions that even surprise me. And then I might turn around and just throw her into the loop without even her knowing it sometimes. And when I do that, it feels good. It does feel good. Because to have someone like American Fox remind you of how much of a difference that you make in doing this podcast, supports you in every step of the way of this podcast, to the point where she's grounded herself like a rock with the encouragement of a director. It's amazing. It is. It really is. I could not have asked for more than that. Now, actually, I could, but that's a whole different story. But no secret identity. American Fox 24/7. Goes out there, fights crime, kicks ass first, takes questions later. And literally just does everything possible in her own strength to keep this podcast going, to keep encouraging me to keep this podcast going. I mean, I'm going to be honest, folks. I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression in 2009. Okay? I'm my own worst enemy. Okay? And it's like, you know, one good thing about having a friend like American Fox is telling it like it is. And telling it like it is through the encouragement of me keeping this podcast going and doing whatever is needed to keep this podcast going. For someone to tell me that I make a difference amazes me. Even though I didn't believe it. But with American Fox, you can't go around not believing it. You can't hide it can't hide the fact that this podcast does make a difference. This podcast is instrumental in people's lives. And I want to hear more. I really do. Okay? Not just from American Fox, not just from my old neighbor. Okay? So, yeah, there's two people that tell me I make a difference. I really want to hear it in the comments. I want you to be brutally honest. Okay, and let me clarify the brutally honest. If you are going to throw negativity at me, because it's like I'm building a shrine and fixated on American Fox, I already did that. Okay? But if you're going to tell me that she's not real, I don't want to hear it. She's as real as you can be. She's as real as you could be. Okay? And yeah, I'm going off a tangent on this because one thing that really gets to me, and it puts me in positions where I have to, it's like I have to battle demons of my own. Okay? But you want to know who steps up and defeats those demons for me? American Fox. She may be an Amazon. She may be like Wonder Woman. She may not have a lasso of truth, but look at those muscles. Look at that strength that you can see in that woman, in that superhero one. I mean, look at that strength. I mean, literally, she takes those demons that I have to fight, that I'm supposed to be fighting. She stepped up, took those demons, and man, I think if her and Wonder Woman both had a demon in their hand and was challenged to a throwing contest, they would both have the same distance in reference to how far that demon would be thrown. I mean, they can throw him for miles. They can throw him for a mile at least. And I mean, American Fox has stepped up to the plate every time and make sure that confidence level is there for this podcast to continue on, especially at least for these three guests that are coming up. I mean, at least for these three guests coming up. And again, Tuesday, we're going to have keeper Catran-Whitney at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to have Michael Pickard on September 30th at 12 noon Eastern Time. And we're going to have Marla Goldberg on Tuesday, October 1st, and that's at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. But I will tell you, pardon me a second. And I apologize for the slight delay in the dead silence. Okay. So definitely, definitely. Most definitely, you got to really check out American Fox. This superheroine can do wonders. Like I said, she's done wonders for me. She's the number one fan of this podcast. She's the biggest supporter of this podcast, and she's the rock. She's like an executive director of this podcast with confidence. And I couldn't be more proud of her and knowing who she really is in reference to that. So I'm gonna end this podcast by definitely saying follow American Fox on Twitter and on Instagram. On X, formerly Twitter, it's at American Fox 4. And on Instagram, it's at American Fox 12018. And like I said, really chat with her. Because she loves hearing from real people. And the reason why I say that in closing is because, and I'm saying this from experience. Okay. On Instagram, you get people, if you have an Instagram account, okay, and you check your notifications and you see that little red dot in the heart where the notifications are on the app. Well, when you click on them, you see certain things, certain handles. You go to look, and they're what they call bots. And they plant themselves. They say, oh, yeah, we like your... Because they want you to go on their OnlyFans or their porn sites. Okay? So that I have to block them every time. And when you turn around and block one, you got 5,000 others coming through. So that's why I say American Fox likes chatting with real people. Believe me, I do. I love chatting with real people. Okay? I love chatting with real people. But definitely, if you love Wonder Woman like I do, okay, this is the person to talk to. And as you get to know who American Fox is, she might tell you about her powers and what she does. She's an Amazon like Wonder Woman, yes. But one thing I will say as a friend, she has got the hugest heart you'll ever see in your life. The hugest heart. How can you not want to be friends with someone like her? Again, I could not be any more thankful to have this person as part of my life. I could not be any more appreciative than having American Fox in my life. I could not be any more grateful to be reminded that I make a difference through American Fox. Because I'll tell you, if this podcast did end, I wouldn't be surprised if she came up here in Philadelphia and threw me for a mile because I let this podcast end. And I'm joking, by the way, on that. But who knows? It can happen. Hey, like I said, if her and Wonder Woman had a contest and throwing all the demons I fight that I'm supposed to be fighting in my life, they'd be tied because being Amazons, they could throw them for a mile at least. But definitely, and I can't stress it enough, if you're going to chat with American Fox, comment on her profile pictures. Comment on the reposts she puts on Twitter, on X. Because with real people is real conversation. Real people equals real conversation. And believe me, chatting with American Fox could blow your mind on things. Okay? Like I said, it got to a point with me where I wanted to build a shrine, okay, for everything she's done for me. Because I'm that grateful for her. And thankful for everything she does. I mean, I literally, in my heart, literally can't stop thanking her for everything she does for me. Defeating the demons that I'm supposed to be fighting in my life. That's a friend. And fighting it with love and support and confidence and everything that you could think of that a friend is, it's right there. I can't point to it enough. I cannot point to it enough. American Fox is someone you really should get to know. Literally should get to know. Because you're never going to find someone real, a real life superheroine. No secret identity. American Fox 24/7. Like if remember back in the 70s, the cartoon Plastic Man? Okay? Plastic Man really didn't have an identity. Okay? He really didn't have an identity. He was Plastic Man 24/7. Well, American Fox is 24/7 too. But she will kick ass first and ask questions later. And like I said, in reference to what she's done for not just this podcast, but for me personally, I mean, damn. Like, I could want to picture her and Wonder Woman having a competition, grabbing a demon that destroyed me in negativity. And that's why I also say, if you're going to comment, any negative comments from this point on, get delete. And don't make it to the point where I block you. I don't like blocking people. Okay? American Fox doesn't like blocking people either. I will say that because there's times I felt like I should be. only because of there are some stupid things that happen, but they're not like major. But in reference to American Fox, she is really someone to get to know. She is a true Amazon. She is a true superhero. She is a superhero from head to toe with a heart of gold. And with those muscles, like I said, she can pick up every demon that I face, that I'm supposed to be facing personally, though. Okay? You want to talk about a therapist? Here you go. Perfect therapist for you. Perfect therapist. And I mean, it might question the end for it, but a therapist that would literally just pick up that demon or pick up the problem in your life and literally just throw it for a mile. That's American Fox. That's American Fox. literally just, she's a wonder. She's more than a wonder. I mean, she's beautiful. She's amazing. I can't be any more proud that she's my friend. You know how many times I want to meet her in person to literally thank her for everything she does? It's on my mind every single day. But hey, she's a superheroine. She can't make that time. As much as I wish she could, and deep down, I think she can. Just gotta accolade it the right way. But there's so many times I literally want to go see her and thank her for everything she does. I'm not saying she's God, but I will tell you one thing, though. In reference to American Fox, little secret I'm going to pass on. Not only does she have that strength, but she's got spiritual eyes, too. So, in actuality, she's not just an Amazon. She's a goddess to me. She is literally a goddess to me. But she's got those spiritual eyes now. And something that got picked up. So, not only can she fight crime, but she's not. Sometimes, in actuality, and I'm going to really say we all have those spiritual eyes. We literally do. We all have spiritual eyes, even me. But I'm going to be honest. I'm not saying I'm not stupid to see it, but a majority of the time, in reference to my quote unquote my spiritual eyes, American Fox gets to the problem before the spiritual eyes do. The only time that American Fox needs the spiritual eyes is when she needs help. Okay? But again, she could grab every problem I have in my life and literally throw it for a mile. Literally throw it, literally. Like a football. Okay? Like a football. If you gave her a football to throw, you better go. If she was here in Philadelphia, right here in Philadelphia, okay? And she literally threw a football, it would land in the Delaware River 1.5 miles away. 2 miles away. Sorry, 2 miles away. Okay? That's how confident I believe I am in her. And again, I could not thank her for everything she does. Like I said, I want to literally go down, find her, and thank her for everything she does. I mean, yeah, I'm going off on a tangent. This was supposed to be about, could the podcast be ending? Well, if this podcast be ending, guess who might be next to the Delaware River? Okay? And it ain't a football. But again, I gotta be funny about it. but I definitely could say, follow her on X, follow her on Instagram, comment on them, let her hear your voice. Let her hear your voice. Because she loves chatting with people. Matter of fact, when I've had guests on this podcast and I've read questions that, and I pull up this picture, there are guests that are amazed of the fan of this major league fan I have. I mean, literally are amazed. I mean, if American Fox broke out into a better stage, you think she's going to thank me? Maybe. But you know what? Credit's all hers. And I give her credit every day. And I will continue to give her credit every day. Because I definitely know that this podcast could not stop without American Fox. The only way this podcast could stop right now is if I didn't have any more guests. And I came out here one more time and I'm saying, you know what? This podcast is now over. Thank you, everybody, for being part of it over the past 5 years. Yada, 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 bullshit. And for those that are under the age of 18, I will apologize for the BS comment just now, for using that BS. But I will admit, I do not edit these. Okay? I do not edit these. So, if it's going to get to the point where I'm going to make this 18 and over, I got to work on it. But one thing I know that I would love to do with this podcast, that I wanted to do with this podcast, is expand it to like being on like a CNN or a News Nation. And we attempted it. We actually attempted this. Because I knew somebody who works at News Nation. And I literally just said, listen. And this person was going to come on the podcast and chat. We were going to talk about her career. Okay? We were going to talk about her career. At the same time, I was going to make a suggestion through the podcast, through the live stream on YouTube, to have this podcast on a News Nation, a CNN, Fox News. As bad as I'm saying that. I would even love to put this on I wanted to put this on the radio. I wanted to make a radio show of this. I literally do. Do I still want to do it? If I had $15,000? Yeah. And you know what? We have a merchant. This podcast actually has a merchandise show. Okay? Oop. This podcast has a merchandise website. That you all should check out. It might look bland in reference to the merchandise because it's just the logo. But you got to check it out, though. It's shop.spreadshirt.com/life-with-joey-calvo. I'm going to be honest on one thing in reference to this. You know, I suggested this to American Fox. I actually suggest that there was so many. Like I said, she is a great friend. And I'm going to be, like I said, I've been brutally honest. I do what I can to support people that support me. So I talked to her about this. And it was interesting, but we couldn't do it because there's little ties we would have to work with. But stuff like this, you really got to check her out. You got to follow her on Instagram. You got to follow her on X. You literally need to talk with her. And when you do talk with her, let her know you heard it on this podcast. Because when she hears that it comes from this podcast, you see that smile on her face? It gets much bigger like this. It might break her face a little bit when she hears people literally coming to her and saying, "Hey, Joey talks about you so much, and I want to get to know you, American Fox. I want to learn all about you." And you know what? She'll talk. She'll tell you what she wants to tell you. But it's worth it. It's truly worth it. I could not have a great foundation in my life than American Fox. Literally. I could not have the greatest foundation in my life. Not only is she a friend, not only is she the number one fan of this podcast, number one support, like I said, she's like the executive director in reference with confidence and the encouragement to keep this going. I could get upset because I would never believe that someone would believe in me in being a success. I could never believe that I could be or I would feel like a success. I don't right now. But that's not because of American Fox. It's not because of this podcast. It's because of myself. But guess what? Right now, me not feeling like a success myself means absolutely should. Because this podcast, as a psychiatrist actually told me, is my therapy. And you know what? He's right. This has been my therapy. But you want to know, I've learned that I've had a better therapy all this time. And that therapy is called American Fox. Literally. I mean, if she gave up fighting crime at night and during the day, I think I could picture, well, yeah, I could. And I'm going to have fun off of this. Only because it's worth it. I want to share this scenario with you because it's really interesting as I'm thinking about it. American Fox turns around and becomes a psychologist. Okay? So, picture her. She has the motif on. She has her uniform. She has her armbands, power belt, boots, everything. two differences. One, you walk into her office. Yeah, I did say office. So three differences. First, you walk into an office to meet with her. Two, you walk into the office and you see this, but you see glasses on, and you see her hair up in her beautiful, flowing long hair in a bun. And she tells you, lay on the couch and start talking. And for 50 minutes, as you're talking, you start to focus on her. You think she's worth the 50 minutes of therapy? Yeah. And I could not be any more grateful for that too. I mean, what more can like I said, that's a whole different story. What more I could ask for. But in reference to American Fox, and yes, I go off the tangent because you can't stop. I can't stop talking about American Fox. And I can't stop talking about the support, the love, and the confidence that she puts into this podcast with questions, with being that number one fan, being that number one supporter, being that rock, being my friend, and being the therapist. Now she might comment later on and joke around and say, okay, that'll be $75 an hour now. I'll be like, we'll discuss the bill later. But it's funny. But in all seriousness, she's a great friend. She's a truly great friend. And I really, like I said, I can't stress it enough. I really want you to get to know her. I do. And if she came out with a YouTube channel, if she came out with a podcast, I would help her 100,000%. She'd actually have to be the producer and everything, which I'd be happy to. Because of what she's done for me. And believe me, what she does for me as a friend, I mean, I couldn't be any more amazed. Like I said, it's another story of what more I would want out of it. But deep down, I will always be grateful for the battle she puts out every day, fighting crime. I could not be any more proud of her for being my friend. I could not be any more proud of her for the confidence she puts into this podcast, like an executive director would. And okay, there we go. And this is T-Mobile, so of course that will happen. But I could not be any more proud to know the most beautiful superheroine in real life. And like I said, and I will state this again, if I could meet her in person, I literally would be like on my hands and knees thanking her for everything she's done for me. Literally on my hands and knees. Okay? And yes, we're talking about this. Okay? We're talking about this. Okay? Let me clarify that. We're talking about this. But I can't stress enough about it. I cannot stress enough. And like I said, you can reach out to her on X and on Instagram. On X, formerly Twitter, it's at American Fox 4. And on Instagram, it's at American Fox 12018. When you do speak to her, hey, I heard about you on the Life with Joey Calvo podcast. Let's chat. And you want, like I said, she wants to talk to real people. She does. Talk Wonder Woman. Talk Black Cat. Okay? More Wonder Woman, though. Okay? Because her and I, believe it or not, we have the best thing in common. Okay? Best thing in common is that we both believe Linda Carter was the best Wonder Woman of them all. I could not state that enough. But American Fox, since I've gotten to know her, is another goddess to me. And she's another a superheroine of all time to me. So, yeah, I love Wonder Woman, but I'm also a big fan of American Fox because American Fox is a big fan of me. And I couldn't be any more thankful for that. All right. Join us Tuesday, at 4 p.m. Eastern Time with Keeper Catran-Whitney. And then the following week, on the 30th at 12 p.m. Eastern is Michael Pickard. And then Tuesday, October 1st at 2 p.m. I believe it's 2 p.m. Yeah, 2 p.m. Eastern Time is going to be... This can't be wrong. Ooh, thank you. Hi. Yeah, I wish I could find out more about Miss Can't Be Wrong. Interesting. That's an interesting name, by the way. Interesting channel name. Miss Can't Be Wrong. But thank you so much. I appreciate that. Definitely check out American Fox on Instagram and on X, formerly Twitter. So definitely, when you talk to her, when you comment on her posts, tell her that you mentioned it on the Life with Joey Calvo podcast. Okay? Literally, do. God bless you all. I will speak to you guys on Tuesday. God bless you.